Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. We are live. Listen, today's been kind of a wacky day. I don't know about for you guys, but what was it a full moon last night? Kind of a wacky day. And at this point, I'm flying solo. Ken, who's helps me produce this show, is running a few minutes late. So if you are with me and if you are willing to say hello, where you're from, what's your education company, throw that in the chat. That is helpful because I'm flying blind a little bit. And because I'm kind of in a whatever, try things mode, I switched to portrait mode in our streaming, which looks a little bit different for me. And I don't know how what that does for you and your experience, but I hope it's a good experience. So I'm just checking here to make sure that we are live, and it looks like we are. And yeah, we've got that portrait mode. So that's interesting. Colin, nice to have you in. Very, very cool. So British Columbia, Canada. Cool. Very cool. My sister-in-law and her family live up in Victoria, a beautiful part of the world where you are. So welcome in. Today is the Coach's Corner, and we've been kind of refining what the Coach's Corner is. So thank you guys for being along for the ride. What I did is kind of really want to kind of turn this into actual coaching. And so the coaching will be based on questions that we received from people from our latest show, which was about demos. Which was about how to do sales without being icky or salesy. And so one of the things that we'll do here is begin to ask for different people to throw in comments, questions. But what we're trying to do is create a community of people in the education space. So Michael, welcome in, helping lots of EdTech startups. That's awesome. You're in San Francisco, super cool. So Michael can certainly be a shoulder for our community to lean on. Let me give you some information about what it's been like today. We had one of our cohorts met today at 8:00. We have 8 EdTech companies in education. I'm very careful not to say EdTech. Companies in education met. We meet for an hour and a half. We meet for 12 straight weeks. So Michael, I bet you'd be able to talk to a lot of those great folks. And then we rolled into our dolphin tank. And interestingly enough, the dolphin tank kind of came out of discussions about Shark Tank. And I don't know about you, Michael or Colin, but I watch a lot of Shark Tank when I'm traveling and sitting, kind of going to sleep or whatever. And I'm always so annoyed when these people don't take the money. And so I have this love-hate relationship with Shark Tank. And we talked about that as a group, as a cohort, members of the EdSales Elevation Experience community. And we said, what if we did something fun where we just supported each other? What if we were dolphins, not sharks? And so we created something called the Dolphin Tank. We meet the third Thursday of every month, and it's everybody who's kind of a member of our alumni group. We're thinking about opening it up to a kind of a bigger group. And what we do is we all bring our biggest challenge. Easy for me to say. We bring our biggest challenge, what we're facing in our education business. And sometimes you don't have a hair on fire challenge and somebody else talks. Today we talked about hiring coders. Today we talked about a nonprofit and their direction. It was a great dolphin tank. And now we're rolling into the Coach's Corner. So as I said, we had some questions kind of sent ahead of time from some of our members of our community, and I'm going to roll through some of those, and so kind of do some active coaching here. And obviously, Colin, Michael, everybody else who's joining in, feel free to weigh in. One of the first questions is, how can I overcome imposter syndrome as an entrepreneur or business owner? And I'm sure, Michael, you can definitely weigh in on that. If you've been working with startups, imposter syndrome creeps in early and often. And as we know, that's a challenge for a lot of folks, right? And some of the keys that I wrote down are: focus on building your confidence and your self-belief. And I say that because you know this stuff. And in fact, as a founder, you know this stuff better than anybody else. And one really interesting exercise to do as imposter syndrome creeps in is you can start by acknowledging your own accomplishments and your own expertise and make a list of your successes. That's an interesting thing to do in some quiet time. You can also practice positive self-talk. And I think that's interesting. I do that a lot in the middle of the night, in fact. Wow. Okay. Michael Guy just wrote a piece on that. I don't know if you're able to put that link in. Then we can make that available to everybody else. That'd be pretty cool. And so I practice positive self-talk a lot in the middle of the night. That's something you can try. And I think being vulnerable. There's something really powerful to being vulnerable, because I feel like that we all face imposter syndrome. And I had an interesting experience just myself. I'll just say this: in the last 10 hours, I have wanted to speak at DC Startup Week for a while now. And it hasn't been right. I haven't been necessarily ready. And so I reached out to the founders of DC Startup Week very recently and said, I'd like to give us a talk on generating leads for companies, and not necessarily just education companies, but companies in general, leveraging LinkedIn, things like that. And I didn't hear back from anybody. Nobody. I probably sent 7 or 8 emails, and they're getting ready for a huge week. I get that. So they're super busy, but of course I'm thinking I'm not good enough for this. And then I got an email in the middle of this last night saying, we've got an opening and would you like to talk? So I had made my plans to go to DC Startup Week because I was going to be there one way or another to support other people. And there you go. So I'm excited to speak at DC Startup Week. And that lasted about 30 seconds. And then I started having the imposter syndrome creep in, wondering, this is a stage of an auditorium that seats 300 people. Who's going to be there? What do they want to hear from me? Am I qualified to be up there? Look at these other speakers. But obviously the people at DC Startup Week think so. So I'm game. And what they say here is, don't let it paralyze you. And in terms of therapist, I would say. Therapists say that. Don't let it paralyze you. Use it as fuel to become a better entrepreneur. Colin said here in the chat, once I stopped measuring myself against other people and realized that innovators must be different from the crowd, I've embraced my abilities and differences. This is the biggest tactic I use to deal with imposter syndrome. Colin, that's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That is really helpful. Yeah, we have to be different. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And I will probably copy and paste that so that I remember that as I begin to prepare for this cool opportunity that will also be riddled with some imposter syndrome. Very cool. Colin, say more if you'd like to. That's a really great insight there. Let's see here. One of the other questions that we are having from our community is based on kind of how we don't want to, I don't want to teach people in any way how to do sales that are icky or pushy. And so one of the things we stress here is to build more authentic connections and relationships. And a lot of times we talk about doing that through LinkedIn. And when you're doing that through LinkedIn, that is not just, like, writing awesome or congrats or good job. No, that's truly like supporting people. And you can start building your LinkedIn muscles by just supporting others. Imagine this, okay? Excuse me for a second while I drink this amazing tea that my mom sent to us. Imagine LinkedIn is like a gym. And I'm just working this metaphor out in my head. It's nothing that really anybody's heard, even Ken, who joined us here, who's my producer. Imagine LinkedIn is like a gym. And if you just walked into a gym and instead of lifting weights yourself, instead of getting on the treadmill yourself, what if you just walked around and helped people, and supported them as they were pushing their own weights? Or what if you just walked up to somebody, which would be weird, who was on a treadmill and they're pushing hard and you say, you got this. Or somebody's trying to do their 8th pull-up and you're like, give them a little boost. Again, kind of weird, but you get the idea. That's a way to start in LinkedIn, and that's a way to start building some connections, some real authentic connections, just by boosting other people. And so I recommend, first of all, if LinkedIn feels overwhelming, or second of all, if you're in the education space and you're thinking, that's not really where my people are. Well, they are. Because look at Colin, look at Michael, look at all the other folks who are in the education / EdTech space on LinkedIn. Plus, there's 150,000 schools on LinkedIn. So you could walk into the LinkedIn gym and just start supporting others. When you connect with somebody, you also can see that there's a little bell underneath their banner at the top, and you can click all post. If you really want to follow them, if you really want to support them, if you really want to connect with them deeper, look at all of their posts as they're coming in on a daily basis or every other day and thoughtfully comment. And again, I emphasize the word thoughtfully, because this is not just a like, this is not just an awesome way to go, mazel tov, whatever. This is like a couple sentences engaging. I don't know if she's out there in the crowd today, but we were talking about Rachel Jordan, who's in the education space. She's always posting, and her posts are phenomenal. One of her posts was from EdTech Week, and it had 37 really amazing comments. And so Rachel is also very supportive of people on LinkedIn. And what goes around comes around in life, and what goes around comes around on LinkedIn. You want to position yourself as a resource, not a salesperson. If you approach relationship building with authenticity and a spirit of giving, you will start to build a powerful network of industry connections, education industry connections, and they will support you. I'm going to pause for a second and point out that Michael, thank you, put in the Guy Kowalski imposter syndrome article, which I will totally check out. It's on Medium. I will pause now just to see if there's any people who've got some questions about their education business focused on lead generation, because that's my sweet spot. You can feel free to send those questions through the chat, and I'm going to do some hot seat coaching, so I'll try and answer them as best I can. In the meantime, I'll give you a little bit of lay of the land here. At 2:00 in the morning, Friday morning, so tomorrow morning, I'm going to head to the airport here. I'm in a small town in Mexico right now. Head to the airport, take a 5:00 flight to Houston, spend a couple hours in Houston, then make my way up to Boston. On Saturday, I'm running in a race with a few people you might know from the education space, which I'm really proud of. And we're running in the Red Bandana Race, which supports an amazing cause And if you don't know the story of the red bandana, check my LinkedIn, watch the story from ESPN. Then I'm flying from Boston to DC Saturday night. Going to get as much rest as I can. And then Sunday, I'm going to the football game, the Redskins football game with my cousin Ari. Super excited about that. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is EdTech week. Sorry, I can't get all my things straight here. Is Startup Week in DC. And I'm honored to be speaking on Wednesday, but on Monday and Tuesday, I'll be going to as many sessions as I can and supporting people as best I can. Wednesday or Thursday, I'm flying to Mexico City and I'm going to the Formula One race in Mexico City. I don't know if you guys are Formula One fans. I'm not particularly a Formula One fan, but I've gotten into it and I friggin' love it. So if you got questions, throw them into the chat. I don't know, Colin, Michael, we're just getting to know each other and build connections here. Are you guys Formula One fans? And if so, are you a Formula One fan like me because of the Netflix series? One of the questions we got was, how can I use LinkedIn more effectively to build my credibility and attract the right clients? Great question. I know who that question came from. First of all, using LinkedIn is not a magic bullet, not a silver bullet. Magic or silver? To build your credibility and attract the right clients, I would do it first. I would work on your profile. The event in DC, Michael, is Startup Week. I believe they call it Startup and Tech Week. It's all week downtown. So how can I use my LinkedIn more effectively to build my credibility and attract the right clients? First of all, you have to have a profile, in my opinion, that is a sales funnel. Okay, so what does that mean? Your profile should not look like your resume, should not act as your resume. Great that you went to that Ivy League school. Great that you've got that award. Great you've been at that job for 10 years. But how does that help me as your ideal client? So what I recommend you do is create a LinkedIn sales profile that is a sales funnel. Okay? And so that means your banner should demonstrate authority. If you've got a picture of you speaking somewhere, if you've got a picture of you in a classroom, shaking hands with a principal, showing some kids engaged in your product, that's a great picture. You've got your profile picture, which is that circular one. You don't need a professional photographer. Great if you want to get one, but you could just use portrait mode on your camera, and that can create a great picture for you. Then there's your headline. Your headline should follow a formula. We have a formula. And that formula demonstrates for your ideal client how you can help them. And then profile and about section should also follow a formula. Feel free to check out my profile. Some people have used it as their template. I'm game for that. So when you are able to create your profile, then you can start to maybe go out there and target some people that you want to connect with. That's a great way to do it. And start nurturing those relationships. Do not be Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother. Barney, we reference Barney a lot when we talk about LinkedIn. Barney, if you ever watched How I Met Your Mother, Barney walks into the bar and expects he's going to pick up this woman, that woman, that woman. Just like that. Doesn't need to do anything. That is not how LinkedIn works. LinkedIn is a place where you need to give first, nurture, get to know people, build those connections. And another way you do that is you have to post religiously. Meaning you need to go to that gym, the LinkedIn gym, on a daily basis. And I have it in my calendar at 11:30 every morning as LinkedIn and learning. Sometimes I go to LinkedIn just to learn. And in that case, I'm supporting people and I'm posting and commenting and sharing. And sometimes I go there and I'm doing LinkedIn. I am posting. And if you guys follow me on LinkedIn, you know that we do a lot of posting, yes, and I have a team that helps me with that. But every single thing that we post should speak to our ideal client, which is companies in the education space who are looking to generate high quality, high converting leads on repeat. Speaking of religiously, Colin said, I don't watch F1 religiously, but I do enjoy watching it when it's on and I have the time. Me too. I'm a big Checo fan, so I'm a big fan of Mexico. So Colin, if you're watching, not this weekend, but the following weekend, we'll be there in Mexico City. It's a really cool time of year in Mexico because we've got F1, and then the following weekend is Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, which if you've ever seen the movie Coco, that will give you a really good idea of the type of place that I spend time in. It's a phenomenal movie. So let's see here. I'm looking at some of the other questions we have here. What are some effective strategies for selling my education business or product without feeling icky or salesy? First of all, great question, but worded the wrong way. What are some effective strategies for selling my education business or product without feeling icky or salesy? I don't want you to sell. I don't want you to be selling at all. I don't care if you're the greatest salesperson ever. You can sell ice to an Eskimo. I don't want you to be convincing people to buy. I want people to come to you already knowing that they want to buy, and they just want to confirm that. That's the ideal client. That's the ideal situation. That's super comfortable. And when does that happen? That happens when you're doing outreach, when you're sending quality emails, when you're going to conferences, when you're supporting others on LinkedIn, when you're posting quality content and people are getting to know you and you're providing value, when you help others, And you know my co-host from Breaking the Grade is John Gamba, the entrepreneur in residence at Penn's Graduate School of Education. I always think of myself as a member of the John Gamba coaching tree, much like Bill Walsh had his tree for the 49ers. And at the end of the day, what John coaches is just helping others, being of service. So if you do that, you will never have to sell a day in your life. And again, the key is to focus on building genuine connections and demonstrate your value. Demonstrate how you can provide a transformation to a parent or a principal or a district administrator or a superintendent or, a chancellor. You do not want to talk about bells and whistles and features. You want to talk about benefits. You want to talk about transformations. And another thing you can do, and I know that a lot of people may shy away from this, you can tell stories. And you can certainly tell stories of failure. You can also tell, of course, stories of success, aka case studies, but tell people stories. And that helps to let them know who you are. And that helps to let them know that you are the person they want to work with. One of the notes here I had was provide evidence and research to back up your claims. Again, fancy way of saying case studies. And a fancy way of saying before you meet with somebody, do your research. Let's say you're meeting with a school district. Go in there and find how you can align to what they want. So you're helping them understand how you can be a transformational person in their lives. So these are some of the questions that were sent before we went live on the air today. Again, still boggles my friggin' mind that we can go live on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. I don't think we did Instagram today. It's because we didn't get that connected. Because if you guys know, I worked at a TV station called WHSV TV in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley, Harrisonburg, Virginia. And we really couldn't go live outside of our station. We didn't have a live truck. So if we wanted to do what we called a look live, we would run a very long cord from the production studio to the front of the to the front of the station. And that's how we would go live. But we didn't have a live truck. And this is basically a live truck, which is amazing to me. Ken has got the technology down. I've got some captions here. I've got some QR codes. I guess I should pop a QR code up here. Hey, if you want to join 3E, our EdSales Elevation Experience, there's your QR code to snap so we can learn more about you. I'm going to leave that up. I even have music. That I can play. Let me see. Let's see how this sounds. For those of you who don't know, that is the marching song of the Washington Redskins. If you want to debate me on if they're the Redskins or the Washington football team or the Commanders, feel free to. We can do that offline. Happy to. I worked for the Washington Redskins. I was there when Mr. Snyder, yes, I call him Mr. Snyder, when Mr. Snyder was the owner. It's my belief that the reason they are not called the Redskins is because the NFL was punishing Snyder, Mr. Snyder. We could talk about that offline. Happy to. I appreciate everybody who has sent questions ahead of time. I appreciate everybody who has joined us. Great to meet Colin. Great to meet Michael. Guys, if you'd be willing, message me on LinkedIn and let's get together. Let's get together and see how we can help each other. Everybody who's out there knows I am more than happy to help as much as I can, especially, it's especially easy to find me on LinkedIn. I will message you right back. But if LinkedIn isn't your thing, you can also email me, jc@joshchernikoff.com, jc@joshchernikoff.com. We can talk about that, Michael. Absolutely. Absolutely. Happy to. It's an ongoing discussion in DC area and apparently has reached San Francisco. So I appreciate, again, Michael, Colin, Ken, the other folks who are kind of letting me know they're watching in other places. And Ken is clearly still producing. So, by the way, we have a LinkedIn workshop coming up. Thank you, Ken, for popping that in as me. There's a link there to my LinkedIn workshop, which is coming up on Wednesday, October the 30th. And take a look there. We've got a bunch of people already signed up, which is pretty exciting. It will be a workshop. Okay. And what I mean by that, and the reason I'm saying it is this will not be a do nothing webinar. This will not be a do nothing masterclass. This will be a let's work together, guys. Let's work together. So feel free to click in on that LinkedIn workshop, please. Would love to have you. Again, it's been really great to connect with everybody today. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I was able to answer some of the questions. If we've got more questions, you can always send them to me on LinkedIn. If you have interest in 3E, hope you do. grab that QR code and or contact me directly. We will restream this at 11 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday. So if you are watching it on Sunday or listening, I hope you had a great week. And if you're here with me right now, I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday and a great Friday. And appreciate you being here. Next week, we'll be joined again by the great John Gamba. And we'll have a new topic and we'll mix it up. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of our community.